Hello, hello. Welcome to The Unconditioned Life. This is Linda Downey, and we are streaming in multiple places. So if you're tuning in, please say hello. If I don't see it in the moment, I definitely go back and see the comments later. So I'll catch you then and I'll respond to any comments. I would love to know where you're listening from. And if you catch the replay later, also say hello and where you're listening from. So, my purpose for today's conversation is to really have people understand that our bodies can get stuck. Not only our bodies, but our thinking. Our physical body and our thinking can get stuck. And we get stuck from conditioning. So, mostly the people that I work with are women, really successful, committed women who want to have a great life, and yet they can feel stressed, overwhelmed, stuck, especially if there's been difficult things that happened in life, if there have been divorces or loss or just tough circumstances to overcome. I'm going to tell you how that contributes to where you're at right now if you're feeling stuck. But women who are overwhelmed and stressed and often burnt out get there because we're very conditioned to go there. And then once we're there, to stay there. So this is what I mean by that. So let's talk about your body first. I'm going to talk about a few things, but your body first. So our nervous system, it's just like if you've ever worked out, you exercise and you get into condition, or you condition yourself so that when you need to go and use your body and be fit, if you need to run and catch the bus, you're in condition to be able to do that. Your body has been prepared and can handle the run to the bus, right? That's what conditioning is. Well, our body can also get conditioned to stay in fight or flight. It can also be conditioned to stay stressed. So just yesterday, I had a client who said to me, I have had anxiety for 50 years. 50 years. And she said, sometimes I don't even know why I'm anxious. Like there's really nothing to be anxious about. Everything in my life is fine. And yet I feel anxiety, and she feels it in her body. So there's some ways that anxiety shows up, and I'm not only talking about anxiety, but that's a common thing. So let's talk about that. Anxiety can show up in constant pain brain thinking, right? Like that hamster wheel of thoughts that you stay worried about, obsessing over something, going back over. It might be something that happened before, like a conversation you had yesterday, or a meeting that you were in, or an incident with somebody in your family. So you might be obsessing over what you could have said differently, how you should have done it. Did they actually say that? What did they mean by that? So we can get stuck in obsessive thinking, either about the past or about the future, something that hasn't even happened yet. We get obsessive about what if this happens? Oh my God, I think this is going that way. Oh, I'm not going to be able to. And we don't even know yet. We haven't even gotten there. So there's the thinking that we can get conditioned to, but anxiety can also show up in physical symptoms in our body. So it might be pain that we carry around. It might be headaches. It might be like a pressure feeling. Sometimes people feel pressure in their head, different than a headache, but pressure in their head, or pressure like over their heart or stomach. Their stomach always feels like they're in knots. So those are some of the physical ways that our body tells us we're not normal, we're not okay, we're not safe. That's really what your body's saying is, I'm not safe. And so when we're talking about the conditioning, hi, thank you for saying hi. Oh, I bet you, is that Charm? Is this Charm saying hi from Georgia? It doesn't show me your name sometimes. It just says Facebook user. So I'm guessing that's you, but maybe not. So whoever it is, thank you for saying hi. So we're talking about how we get conditioned to stay stuck. Oh, it is Charm. Okay, great. Thanks, Charm. Nice to see you. Happy New Year. we get conditioned to stay stuck in places that don't serve us. So, in terms of the body, like our physiology gets conditioned to be ready for a fight. So, just like I said, we can be conditioned, we can exercise to be in condition to run and catch a bus. We can also be conditioned to be ready for a fight in our body. And that means our heart rate and our blood pressure are up because you would need that elevated blood flow to be in a fight. It also might mean, which is why your stomach could have a stomach ache, it might mean digestion shuts down because you're ready for a fight. When we're in a fight, the body knows it's not the time to digest a meal. So digestion shuts down. So we can stay conditioned, and that's because we really never get the message in our physiology. We never get the message, it's okay, you're safe, you can relax. And this especially happens if we grew up right from childhood or early in life, but I'm going to say childhood. We grew up in an environment that felt stressful at times, and we never really learned how to move through our stress. We never really learned how to express it and how to get our body back to safety. So the conditioning happens because we've spent a long time, years and years. Like my client said yesterday, it's been 50 years of anxiety for her. So the body starts to think, this is the place I need to stay. This is the place that's normal for me. This is home base. So the physiology, and there's some ways to change your physiology. I've been talking a lot about breath lately, and with my friend Nutzi, we've been running a free breath workshop. If you're interested in that, we had the first one last night. We're doing 4 weeks. Yep, 50 years she's had anxiety. And let me tell you, that's not atypical. That's pretty common. I have another client who's like, I've been in and out of therapy for 30 years. And yet, in the 3 months we've been working together, she feels like she's been moving more than she ever did with therapy. And one of the reasons is because we do the work on all the places. So therapy sometimes, I mean, I know there's different kinds of therapy and different therapists, but oftentimes it just works on your thinking, which is another place that gets conditioned. But when you also want to address the body, because if the body doesn't get the message and the physiology and your nervous system doesn't know how to go back into rest, then you stay there. The blood pressure stays up. So people who have blood pressure issues, they're on medication just to manage it. But how do we get that blood pressure down? So there's some different ways, and managing your breath is a very good way to get your body to start to realize it can relax. But you also have to manage your thoughts, right? So that's the other place, one of the other places that becomes conditioned, because we get very focused. When we are in a stress mode, our thinking becomes very narrow and we are very problem focused. And we learn to look at life through that lens. Where's the problem? Where's the problem? Just like our body's ready for a fight, conditioned for a fight, our thoughts are conditioned to see problems. Our thoughts are conditioned to go to a place of fear. So fear is the emotion triggers the thoughts, and the thoughts trigger the emotion. It becomes like a vicious cycle that is, you want to break. Otherwise, life always feels like you're struggling. Life always feels bigger than you. It always feels overwhelming. Those are the words that at least a lot of the clients I work with, or the women that I'm on the phone with, share with me. Overwhelmed, burnt out, exhausted, I'm struggling, I don't sleep well. And then as we dig in further, like, okay, so where's that showing up in your life? It's showing up in my health and vitality. Since I don't sleep well, I don't have energy during the day. I end up sticking food in my mouth, either just comfort food because I need the comfort, or because I don't have time to be organized and to do anything differently. It might show up in your relationships, because when you're narrowly focused and on problems, you see everything that comes up as some level of a problem. First of all, that's the perspective that you're going to see it through. And secondly, you don't have the energy because you're exhausted and overwhelmed, and all the words that we just said. You don't have the energy to put into communication, to put into the effort of connection. Because when you're stressed and narrowly focused, the brain, the parts of the brain that want to be creative, the parts of the brain that are designed for communication, the parts of the brain that are going to work well together, the left and right part of your brain, it's not happening because you're stuck in that problem solving, narrow focus place of stress and overwhelm. And we get conditioned there. So just like the body and the nervous, so the comment is, I'm thinking that people pleasing might play into this. Absolutely. That's going to be the next part that I'm going to go into, which is the beliefs and the choices also get conditioned. So it's really, since you brought it up, it's a great point. The comment is, I'm thinking that people pleasing might play into this. So people pleasing is a behavior or choices that we make over and over. That's one part that gets conditioned. We get conditioned into those behaviors and choices. So really, it's three parts that I want to talk with you about today, and just have you start to look at the whole picture. Because if you're just thinking that your life is stressful and you need to change your job, or your relationship isn't working and you're stressed out about it, or your kids are driving you crazy, take a step back if you can and look at all three of these pieces that I'm sharing with you. So is your body stuck, ready for a fight? Is your body there? And that's what we started talking about. Are your thoughts focused on the problems, which is shutting down the other parts of your brain from being creative to creatively problem solving, communicating better, having an expanded focus, which is inclusive? Also, some of the traits that we hear in terms of masculine energy, feminine energy, right? We get stuck when we're in problem solving. We're in a masculine energy. All people, both genders, all genders have masculine and feminine energy. It's just called that for whatever reason. But the masculine energy is the logical problem solving, do the work with your body, get it done. Use your intellect, right? Think about it here and then use your body to get it done. The feminine energy is more of the let it flow. It's the intuition. I don't have to figure it out here. Let me see what feels right. Or let me open and expand rather than be narrowly focused on the problem. And let me trust, right? That's very different than I can't trust, I have to control. So they're opposite sides. So our thinking can go there, and our behaviors then are the result of all of that. And our behaviors are also driven really by our beliefs. So we may think, okay, it's the beginning of the year, right? So some people maybe have set up goals or resolutions. I don't really do resolutions, but whatever you want to call it, people have like, okay, it's a new year, so I'm going to dial down my commitments, and I'm going to say no more often, and I'm going to spend more time either on myself or with my family, whatever it might be, right? And then that doesn't happen. Why doesn't it happen? Because our beliefs drive our choices and our behaviors, and those beliefs are also very conditioned. That's why this whole conversation is about the conditioning that we live in, and we don't even know it. We just don't even know that all of that is at work. So each day we think we're outliving our day, but we're really just repeating a lot of the past. We're really repeating what we did yesterday, what we thought yesterday, what we chose yesterday, over and over because we're in a conditioned place to do that. The beliefs get conditioned also when we're very young. So just like you might have decided, or your body might have decided it needs to be ready for a fight just because maybe you grew up in a tense household. Maybe, you had some bullying at school. Maybe something else happened and your body just got like, okay, I'm ready. It could never relax. Well, your beliefs get conditioned from that same time period. So I'm just going to make up a scenario, but let's just say that's you as a kid, right? And you were going to a school and there was maybe some bullying and it was a pretty tough place and you felt like you were always on the alert, like you didn't really feel safe because kids can be tough anyway, right? Anywhere, but kids were tough. And so what you decided was, I'll be the kid that shows up every day and I'll do things for people. Maybe I'll bring candy and hand it out. Maybe I'll help people with their homework, whatever it is I need to do so that they don't bother me and so that I can get through my day without any trouble. So I tried to come up with a scenario, given the comment here that people pleasing might play into this. So that's where a people pleasing behavior gets born. That's the birth of that. And now you're 48 years old and exhausted because you've been doing that your whole life. You got older, you graduated, you left that school, but that way of coping became a really successful strategy. It worked. Like, wow, when I said, here, let me do that homework for you, or here, let me carry that for you, or here, whatever, people left me alone. So then that continued into your first job in your 20s, and it continued in your relationship. You just like, here, no, I'll do it. You relax. I'll grab this. You relax. How many women listening, are resentful perhaps and exhausted inside, and yet still the words of no, I got it are coming out of their mouth because they've found that is the way that they think they have to be. So that's the conditioned behavior, which is coming from the conditioned beliefs of childhood. And the body is also conditioned to match right along with that. So if you're feeling like a stressed out, overwhelmed, burned out, or stuck, the emotions also get conditioned. I was just going to say, stuck in sadness, depression, anger, resentment. We get stuck there because we also can get conditioned to live in a certain emotional home base, a place of the same kinds of emotions, sort of. We just move from one to the other, but we don't really leave a certain range of emotions. And they go right along with the ready for the fight body. They go right along with the thinking that never shuts off, and they go right along with the beliefs that drive your behaviors. So now your emotions match all of that. So all of those things need to be deconditioned. You have to uncondition each parts of you. So sometimes when I work with people, we work on one thing at a time. Sometimes we work on just the thinking. Sometimes, like this breath workshop, and it's a free breath workshop. If you're interested, please drop me a comment and I'll send you the link so that you can attend. Actually, I would need your email list, and then I'll tag you. I'll put you on my email list and tag you so you receive the emails, but you'll get the recording from last night and you'll get the links to attend the next 3 nights. And that's just a free workshop, just focusing on the one thing of how can we use our breath to change our body's propensity to be ready for a fight? How do we use our breath to manage our physiology? So sometimes we work on just one thing. I do in my Return, Restore, and Renew program, we work on all of it. We work on what are the thinking patterns that you have, how to calm your body down, what beliefs are there. Sometimes they're so subconscious and they're so automatic, you don't even know um, where they came from. You're not even aware that they're at work because our subconscious slash unconscious, that part of us is much, much bigger and much more in control than our conscious thinking. Our conscious thinking is really doing this much of our life. So we have to go into all of that. And then also our spirit, the spiritual wounding that happens when we're little and we're getting bullied, or we're going home to a household that has a lot of anger, or there's alcoholism, or there's a divorce and our parents are stressed out themselves. There's spiritual wounding there that happens. That spiritual wounding maps up and is a big cause of the beliefs that we develop, why we think we need to people please, because I'm not lovable enough unless I do that. That's a wounding. That's a soul level wounding in our spirit. So there's spiritual healing that needs to be done as well. So all of it in my Return, Restore, Renew program, we work on all of it, but you can also work on certain parts of it. Whatever you feel you are ready for. Sometimes we're not ready to look at all of it or to dig into all of it. The good news is, at least with the work that I do, and the women have really had wonderful outcomes, you don't have to go back and relive stuff. You really don't. I know there's some people who do that, but I don't believe you have to. People don't want to. We can still figure out the beliefs without reliving stuff you don't want to remember. And sometimes you don't remember. You just know you're doing this, but you don't remember why. So that's the spiritual healing part that's super, super critical. And I will tell you that if you address all the other things, but not the spiritual part, you're going to find yourself back in fight or flight. You're going to find yourself spinning your wheels again, because that core spiritual healing, that wounding, really is at the basis of everything. Our spirit is who we are. Our spirit is our connection to God. So we want that whole and complete so that we can then address everything else that comes along. So if the spiritual wounding is a place, or spiritual healing, however you want to think of it, is a place that has been a place of necessity for you, a place where attention should go. I have a different 12-week healing codes course, which is starting tomorrow night, that is only the spiritual piece. Part of it, we will do a little bit of the nervous system stuff. We will do some breath work in there as well, but we will also just really focus on what your spirit needs, right? How your soul needs to get back into alignment. So it's just that piece. So I'm happy to give you information about that as well. And I see, so again, I can't see Facebook user your name. I don't know if that's still Charm, but if you're interested in the breath work, I'll go back into these comments wherever you are commenting or watching from. And I'm going to need your email. So if you don't want to leave your email publicly, then you need to send me a private message with your email, and then I can get you on my email list and tag you for that breath workshop. And I'm happy to do that. Oh, that means it's you, Charm? Okay. Charm, I think you're on my email list. So, but anybody else who's listening or listening later for the replay, if you want to do that free breath workshop, get me your email. You can do it privately. You just got to send me a message. Then I'll get you on and tagged for that so that you can get the recordings if you can't attend live. It's Tuesday nights, 7:30 Eastern time. I'll send you the link for it. But if you can't attend live, I send the recording out afterwards. And this is with a friend of mine, Nutsi, who is amazing. She's got great energy. She's super fun and bubbly and very, very knowledgeable, and has healed a lot in her life. She's got great stories to share. and she uses breath work a lot. So we partner together, but she really is an expert in breath work. So I let her sort of, run with it, but you'll love her if you want to come. So that's free, and that started last night. And if you're interested in any of the spiritual healing, that starts tomorrow night. That is a 12-week paid program. So send me a message if you're interested in that. Yeah, Charm. Okay. I thought that was you, and I thought you're on my email list. So I'll go in and I'll tag you for the breath workshop. Okay. All right. So just to recap, as we wrap up this edition of the Unconditioned Life, our bodies, our thinking, our beliefs and behaviors all can become very conditioned to stay in a place that keeps life feeling overwhelming, keeps life feeling like a struggle, keeps us disconnected from people and from ourselves. And so I encourage you to look deeper than my life circumstances. I just have a hard life. And I get it. You may have a hard life. And I certainly had my share of circumstances. I know what it's like to live there. A lot of these tools can also help you deal with the very real circumstances that you're dealing with. But also, how much are you bringing to the table as conditioning from your past? Because that just makes it all so much harder. If you could deal with the current circumstances that you're living in from like a blank slate, without that conditioning, without being ready for a fight, without being stuck in a very narrow focus and having emotions that, you go through from frustration to resentment to resignation to anger and back again, right? Like that's where you kind of stay. And every so often something makes you happy, but happiness is elusive for the most part. If that's the conditioning you bring to your current life circumstances, it is a million times harder. It just is. So, and that's, in my opinion, not why we're here. That is not why we're here, to live life like that. Okay. So thank you for tuning in. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at this time will be another episode. And sometimes it'll be very specific and we'll do some tools together. Thank you so much for tuning in. Happy New Year to you. Sometimes it'll be more informational. Sometimes I'll have a guest, whatever it is. But if you're anyone, but specifically a woman, and you're interested in having a successful, but peaceful, successful, struggle-free, successful and happy, right? Sometimes we think successful means we have to give up the other stuff. Success only comes with a struggle. Success only comes, when we're working really hard. But if you want to be successful and committed and not struggle, then that's the kind of information that I'm looking to provide for you in these lives 3 times a week. Okay. All right. Have a great day. If you listen later, please drop me a hello and tell me where you're listening from. And I hope to see you Friday. Ciao.